welcome back. A big thank you to Jeff and Derek Dero for taking us through the dailies this morning. If you just tuned in, well, karibu sana to Alpha G right here on K24. My name is Shiko Kaitani. As always, we are looking out for your feedback from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Through our social media platforms, and that means you can catch us as at K24 TV on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Of course, it's all about life lessons all the way till 7 a.m. And today, we've got an interesting one for you. Now, you've probably had this while growing up, and that is, who are your friends? Probably your mother, your parents were probably asking you, who are these so-and-so who you're hanging out with? Well, maybe you may have thought about it back in the day, but have you actually taken the time to think about the company you keep today? Well, not many of us really think about it. You just go through the motions and so is your friend, but are they really your friends? And so let's have a hard talk this morning, because this might actually cause you to hit refresh and start actually going through your phone book and hit delete. I'm so happy to welcome back to the show mentor and leadership development practitioner, George Ngugi. Hi.
Hello, Shiko. It's great to see you.
Good to see you again.
Yes.
Karibu sana. How is Mrs. Ngugi?
She is very well.
Yes.
She's actually my best friend.
All right.
I can say with confidence she's my best friend.
Yes.
And we're truly blessed to be able to have a relationship that we have.
Right.
We were going back and forth talking about this even as we prepared for this show.
Yeah.
About how friendship is such a gift when you find it in some spaces where people don't necessarily believe it can be found in marriage, in parenting.
Oh, wow.
We have relationships where a parent, like a father and a son, a father and a daughter, a mother and a son, and a mother and daughter, are able to actually genuinely be friends, and beyond the time when they are mandated to be together, so to speak. They actually just yearn to be together. Clearly, I've just jumped into the topic.
Yes, no, that's true. I like how you just brought that in. But it's true. A lot of us don't even see different areas in our lives where friendship applies. I like the way you said that even in marriage, people can genuinely be pals, like you're very good friends.
Absolutely, and I think it's very important, because what happens is that life, the rigors of life, will naturally sort of like beat you and toss you aside, toss you from side to side, like the waves, in the ocean will do, and many things will happen. Your youth will win. Sometimes even wealth, sometimes even position, and whatever people hold as their greatest assets in life may come and go. But at the end of your life, and it's very important for people to actually think about what life would look like at the later stages or the sunset stages of life, whatever that decade or age would be. It's really the friendships that stood the test of time that will remain. Just like that battered, you've seen some of those battered canoes that have been on a seashore for years or for decades. What keeps it going or keeps it afloat is literally friendship, because like I said, sometimes money will come and go, position will come and go, beauty, youth, strength, vigor, all those things. And so ultimately, and I've met some couples in their 70s who are such great friends. I remember last week we were in Mombasa and we met up with a couple who are in their 70s and they are on a holiday together.
Oh, that's
and
great.
They are like literally each other's best friends. You could see them taking walks and just talking about how through the seasons, ultimately friendship has been the thing that has just kept them going.
Okay. Yes. Well, even now, just moving away from the marriage aspect, but now speaking, from a general perspective, look at the way we define friendship. And that's why I'm finding this conversation real talk, because how many times do you sit back and say, okay, there's George, there's Faith, there's Stella, there's who. All right, let me think.
And carefully evaluate.
All these people. A lot of us define friends as, I just know George. But if I ask you anything about George, you don't know anything about George.
Oh, he's my guy.
He's my guy. These are my guys. Because, gentlemen are actually notorious about...
For using that kind of combat. These are my guys.
Then you realize that you just have a bunch of acquaintances that you're moving through life with.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that you'd look at when you're trying to define friendship is seasons. Seasons of life are very key. And I say this with a lot of caution, because sometimes seasons can also make you discard and discount friendships, and it's literally just a season. There's a commonly used phrase that says that they're friends for a season, they're friends for a reason, they're friends for life. And so if you start with season, it's both a positive and negative thing. There are times where you'll be in a certain space with some people, and you find that you naturally get along very well. It could be your schoolmates, and people have primary school friends. And sometimes primary school friends are completely different from their high school friends, especially depending on the setup they go to. And that also changes when they go to uni and get into their working life, etc. Even in new phases of life, when you get into a relationship, you come with your friends as a lady, and the gentleman comes with their friends, and you come together as a couple, then you find that not all the friends make the cut. Then you have couple friends, so to speak. All my friends like to make fun about that.
You married people, really?
All my friends like to make fun and say, I remember recently we had a birthday, one of my birthdays a couple of months ago, and he was teasing Faith and saying, I'm glad I made the cut for this event. It's like almost for events, there's a short list.
It's true.
And people may or may not make it depending on certain criteria. But sometimes it's a sad reality of life. That you, as seasons change, sometimes you find that they're not, some people you've journeyed with, you may not continue to journey with. Not that you cut them off or they cut you off. Sometimes just naturally the paths that you're both on may not be in the same direction. And the same way paths cross. And I think, as a Christian, I'm a firm believer in God setting up. People want to talk about serendipity, but I don't really believe in coincidences. The way God sets up each of our paths to cross with other people's paths at particular points, and the people whose paths cross with other people's multiple times at different seasons and times. I'll give a good example. Like my mother and my wife's mother were actually schoolmates.
And they didn't know they would meet in future.
They were college mates, exactly.
As in-laws.
They met, like at the negotiations. Of course, a few days before they had gotten to know about it, a few weeks before. But so they met at a very young age in college, and didn't meet for many years, and then 2-3 decades later, they meet up, and they are now, their children are coming together. And that's just the beauty of how God actually sets these things up beautifully. So it's to take it in stride, because there are people who could be your friend in a younger stage of life, could be your friend on your first job, your first bunch of workmates. And people move from company to company, from school to school. And even when you travel, you find, I was reading about how even the term friends for a season is not necessarily a negative term.
It's not,
Because, you could move into a new city, you could move into a new town, you could be maybe halfway across the world, studying or something. Or just you've relocated and you have a family. So I was reading a story of a lady who got into this space where she was in a new community, but she had young children, and so she'd take her children to the park. And that's in Canada. And she'd take her children to the park, and almost on a regular basis, there's some other ladies she would meet up with who had also come with their children. And that was sort of like a space where they would connect.
Yes, because now they have common.
They have some common ground. But beyond that, when she really looked at, their ages were significantly different. One was 19, first time mom. One was, I think, in her 40s, and she was in her 30s. So,
but they are all in different seasons.
Completely different seasons. But they have this one thing in common. And just to have the awareness and consciousness that it's okay it's okay to be in this season together. It could be a course. It could be like I said, a geographical position. And some relationships endure even beyond when you're taken away. But just to be okay with the season. Sometimes the issue of friends for a reason. The people who come into your life, and I'm sure you've probably encountered that. And you realize when you look back, you're like, why not for meeting this person?
I wouldn't have XYZ.
I would have had a probably completely different perspective of life. So just be aware that it's really about the season and the.
A lot of us also assume that just because we're friends, we will never disagree on things. In fact, some of the best friendships are people who tend to disagree with each other. Absolutely.
It's always rosy. I think the issue of when we talk about when we evaluate, it's also to start to look and see, is it very authentic? When we have some friendships, I think ladies are probably a little bit more guilty of that. Where you speak so, you're very friendly and warm, but even when there's a domain behind the scenes, it doesn't really come out. And I think for men sometimes either we're not able to hide it, and so if guys have a problem, either it's dealt with or it's a really big problem that the friendship may not survive. But women, yes, we will be friends forever, but I will always be complaining about you. Would you believe what your friend so did, and you're like, but you guys are always so jolly, laughing and animated,
I know.
You're shopping together.
And
there's this one thing that possibly that person has done and keeps doing. which you've never really called them out on.
Right.
So I think that's not healthy because you probably are speaking to other people about that flaw they have or that character issue and not speaking to them. A real friend will come and say, by the way, you know what, Shiko? That's not working.
It's not working.
This is, and even when you're doing something which is really not the best authentic self, they just call you out and tell you, Shiko, now.
Yeah.
By
the way, honestly, that one,
genuine.
We have to put a pin on it because ladies, we need to improve on that.
Absolutely,
you cannot be hanging out with someone and calling her your girlfriend for years and years and years, but you're constantly discussing her with your husband, with your brother, with your...
It could be career choices, choices of relationships, issues to do with finance, all these things of life which are critical, which ultimately, if you are really being authentic, you'll be able to walk with them and tell them, I'm not so sure this particular person you're with is best for you. Or the choices you're making regarding your health, regarding your finances, regarding,
So here's the thing. Men don't know each other's names. Women gossip about each other. Correct? Because guys will also not know each other. They'll be like,
I know him.
I know him, but you're like, what's his name? And by the way, how do men do that? You can work together for the longest and you still don't know each other's names.
In extreme cases, sometimes you say, Ulam Sewara 4. You heard that story. There's a way them say, this guy, we park together. He's at our gym, or something. But you don't even, like you say, know his name.
You don't even know his name. Okay.
So ours are on the surface, unfortunately. You guys can go deep, but also there is a level where sometimes you don't break through a certain level of authenticity.
Yes, I like that.
To break through that.
Yes, so it's important to actually be authentic in your friendships.
Absolutely.
Two other components that I actually want to bring up is trust and loyalty and how important those aspects are in your friendships.
So I think, thank you for that, Shiko. So building up on what you just talked about authenticity, for you to be able to truly build and develop trust, you need to be able to be safe, to feel safe. And there's something about feeling safe, about a person creating an environment where you feel safe and vice versa. Where they feel or you feel that you're comfortable, you can really be your most authentic self. And when you say and share what your fears are, what your doubts are, what your whatever misgivings are, or whatever you're going through, it's not necessarily met with judgment. Or even if it is something that needs to be called out, it's not necessarily going to make a conversation elsewhere with some other people that it's actually safe and secure. And that's what they say about trust. If you compare any of these ceramic items, if trust is like one of these when broken, have you ever seen those ceramic items put back together but you can see the glue? The once it's broken, it's never really the same. So it's something which people sometimes we don't take seriously enough. But it's important to be able to earn that trust and loyalty. I mean, earn the trust. Okay, earn the trust. Trust is one thing, loyalty is a different thing. Earn the trust. And once you have that trust, make sure you do everything to guard it. And so earning trust takes time sometimes. Just like with a client, there are people who, there's a concept I've read about called friendship farming. Where your clients, friendship farming, exactly. And so you can come from a space where you're complete, just acquaintance or almost total stranger. You have just one thing in common. You go to the same gym or you're in the same building. But by intentionally and deliberately and through time, acting in certain ways, you cultivate that friendship. And that can also happen in business with clients. You can actually develop a friendship. You can be able to start showing up in very practical and real ways for their life. And there are seasons of life. People have marriage, they have children, they have issues to do with different things going on in their family, their career life, etc. And the more you connect with them in very authentic ways, they start to feel they can trust you. And so that what happens is that some of the most successful businesses, in fact, if you look at Apple and maybe even Samsung to an extent, and some of the other brands we have in the world that have done well, they say that they have gone to the point where they've tried to develop beyond even friendship to family. That people associate with the brands on the level that they feel like it's part of my family. That Apple is part of my family, or Samsung, it's my TV, it's my fridge, it's my microwave. It's very comfortable
personal,
in my home. It's very personal to me. So if the corporates, which are very, and global brands are very, they're not human, have been able to develop the human touch, how much more can someone do it if they actually were intentional about it?
That's very true.
To take those steps to be able to build trust. The same applies for loyalty.
So we have only just about 10 minutes to go, but as we are even, trying to figure out how to farm friendships.
F-A-R-M and also F-I-R-M. You need to farm them and you need to farm them.
You need to farm them. Correct. Okay. I want to bring up about the beneficial factor. You know, a lot of people say that just because we're friends, I don't need to be benefiting anything from you. And I think that's a huge lie, because why should I be sitting with you, hanging out with you, if you have nothing to pour into me and I have nothing to pour into you? You get what I mean? Why am I wasting time making you chapos and we're having lunch and to do what? I mean, and there's nothing going on. It's an exchange.
That's the thing. I think I think we probably spoke about this even before we went on about the issue and some of pitfalls to look out for.
Yeah.
Especially with one track, or should I say one way or one track sort of friendship and relationship.
Yeah. We
have cases where, and you need to be careful about that, because on one hand you can talk about are there friendships which are not beneficial, or people are in friendships and relationships that are not beneficial, or they're probably one way, where they just give and give and give and give, and the other party takes and takes and takes and takes.
Right.
Already that's not healthy.
Exactly.
Simply because a true friendship, whether it's materially, let's not even start with materially, even just on a very emotional level.
Right.
Are you giving emotionally, are you investing emotionally into the relationship?
Absolutely.
And getting as much as you're getting, or are you engaging with somebody who's emotionally absent? It's like a wall that you're giving some of the best time, and whatever your other what I can say aspects of your love languages, gifts, time, quality time, words of affirmation, all that good stuff, but you're not getting much in return. There's already a problem.
There's already a problem.
You can step also into the material, because we are in a material world. And each of us have material needs. And I mean, you know, our hangers talk about how, you know, many of our methalis are very deeply steeped in even eating. That we need to eat together. And they say mla nawe hafi nawe. You know, ila mzaliwa nawe. And so in fact, in their own wahenga rationale, they're saying that some people who you eat with are not necessarily the people who will die with you, or whenever things go, you know, except your brother. But the reality is there are brothers, or there are friends who stick as close as brothers, you know?
True.
And vice versa. There are some siblings who are not as close.
So
material, there is an importance of sitting on a table and even sharing a meal. Because it can't just be about, you know, we meet on the streets, or we meet in office spaces. But also when life happens, and life, not if, when life happens,
it does happen,
it happens
we come
for each one
together.
of us. We come together. Someone is in hospital. You've lost a relative. You're going through a certain season of life, parenting, marriage, etc. You need to also be very present. Either materially, or in fact that was coming materially, but also physically. Are you a person who shows up? That when you have an issue, you know, Dennis or Denise. I can count on that person. As long as I even just sent a text.
Absolutely.
You know, or even a please call me in a very extreme case. They'll call, they'll show up, they'll call someone, and I'm good. If that was my last call, my lifeline call, or my last text, my charge was at 1%, I was in a very dire situation.
If you had that one phone call to make,
I know and I know and I know.
Like
they'll
you know.
show up, or even if they have the money, whatever resources, they'll find a way of getting whatever needs to be gotten together to be able to get my situation better. That's very important. It has to be two-way.
It has to be two-way. I like that. Why do you think, and I want your opinion on this, why don't business and friendship work in most cases?
And also business and family.
Yes.
I guess I think the biggest reason why, and I also want to probably put a disclaimer to say that it's not that they can't work. We have some very successful family businesses. We have some very successful businesses led by friends who came together. And even if you look at businesses like Airbnb, even the funny... they
were all friends before.
They're friends in college, whatnot. And some also don't go as well. But the point is, I think the fact that you have something in common as a friendship. So as I answer this, I'm sure you can see I'm aligned to the positive side. I feel like they can work. Of course, they don't in most cases, but they can work. So if you already have these principles and whatever common ground that brings you together, and you have a genuine desire for each other's well-being. I, as George, have a genuine desire for your well-being as Chico, and vice versa. And we have this common goal that we desire to be both better. We have these resources we desire to grow and get the cake to be bigger. I think if in principle all that is right, they should work. But the reality is, in principle, sometimes, or oftentimes, that is not right. That possibly one of the parties has an ulterior motive. Is a hidden hand, you know. That happens also with families. And you find that somebody would like to probably may not be showing putting all the cards on the table. And that can be an issue. But we have many cases, like I said, I'm on this other side where I believe there are many success stories of families. Our Asian brothers have shown it over and over again. And even the Somali community and many of the Arabs, where it's possible, if there's a genuine, true sense of, and I think some of those communities talk about, and even some of our brothers next door talk about, ujama or brotherhood, it can work.
Yeah.
So why doesn't it work? I feel that possibly one party doesn't bring, or number of parties don't bring in 100%. So maybe one party is bringing 110%, 150%, another party is only bringing 40%. But when it comes to taking out, that happens in relationships. This party wants to take out more than they're even putting in.
Yeah. And even as we wind down, I really want to bring up the importance of perhaps creating boundaries in friendships. Is there any need for that? Because one of the reasons perhaps things don't even work out is because I will cross George's boundary. Because, we're friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thank you for that, because that still ties into the last conversation we have, last point. You just need to be able to be as authentic and as true as you can be, to show what works for you, and what you can do and where you can go beyond. It's a place where you possibly can go beyond. And when it's very clear and you've been able to communicate that, sometimes we are fearful and we want to please the other party by not showing what really doesn't work for you. And so you possibly tolerate and tolerate and tolerate.
Yeah.
And then at some point you just say, you just give up, or you implode, or you just are not able to sustain this anymore.
Yeah.
Similarly, I think if you're able to set in business and in a work setting, what you believe the ground rules are, or what works for you and what doesn't work for you, I believe it's important, and you'll be able to thrive. If you don't have boundaries, it's very possible, because as human beings, there are those who will give and give and give, and others who want to take and take and take.
Yes.
And so in an extreme sense, you may find someone may literally want to take the shirt off your back, like the last thing you have remaining, because they are not concerned about your well-being, and they're more driven for their own well-being. So it's very important to be able to set the boundaries and say that I'm able to do this, but beyond this, it will be difficult, and vice versa.
Okay. All right. So even just to add up onto what George has actually said this morning, I do have a nice article here from the Asian Weekly. I really love this magazine, by the way, as in I read it all the time. And this one is actually by one writer known as Bini Brahabat. I hope I said that right. But interestingly enough, she writes on how to identify toxic friendships. And let me just read this very, very quickly. She goes on to say, so how do you identify with other people and make real long-lasting friendships? For a moment, reflect on your current friendships by asking the following questions. Are your friends ecstatic when you succeed, or is it a whatever, that's great response when you share your success with them? Do your friendships have your back most of the time, or are they those who actually talk trash behind your back? Do your friends make you feel good 7 out of 10 times? Yes, no, maybe? Think about that. Do your friends love you the way you are, or do they have to work hard for your for their validation rather? And then, do your friends make you feel safe and cared for, or do you feel socially excluded or a toxic vibe? If your answers to most of the above is yes for the latter of the statement, it is possible you may be having frenemies, which are enemies who are disguised as friends, giving you a lot of toxic stress. And then finally, she goes on to say, be brave enough to realize and distance yourself from toxic friendships. I like it.
And that reminds me of how they say that with friends like this, who needs enemies? Yes. That should be what we should think about. These are the kind of friends who actually don't make you not need enemies.
That's true.
And then that should be something for you to probably then use to take stock.
All right. Well, thank you so much, George, for coming through.
It was lovely.
Likewise.
Yes.
Salimia Faith for us.
I will.
All right. George Ngugi there, mentor, and of course, our coach this morning, giving us a lot to think about. If you did enjoy this particular conversation on evaluating your friendships, why don't you let us know? At K24 TV on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter is where you can get us. And of course, with that, let's take a short commercial break, and when we get on the other side, it's time to get interactive.